Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. When we started, we were just like, yeah, we're just going to do this, man. You know, shoot our wad into the wind and see what happens. What's the title of this podcast again?
I don't know. I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
You know, but
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And I'm back in HQ this week. Yeah.
World headquarters of Sober Not Mature.
When I said HQ, I never thought about fuck. Like, I could have said world headquarters. The fuck is wrong with me? Jesus Christ! Again, like I said to start out with, anything on your mind, you're like, yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just ask because I mean, you, Mike and I talk usually once a week, unless somebody fucking dies,
Right.
So, other than that, we talk about once a week. It's usually right before this, and again, 95% of the time we have nothing to talk about that we wouldn't that we don't just fucking talk about on here.
Exactly.
But God damn it, world headquarters shit. I feel bad now. I just I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't even feel bad. I'm just disappointed in myself. But yeah, so you're in our Cleveland satellite office, and I'm at the world headquarters.
Right. Well, I mean, it all started in the driveway there, so that's it.
You know what? That is kind of funny. I mean, yeah, granted, this is where it's the address for everything we do for the, obviously for Sober Not Mature and all the,
right.
The quote unquote business shit. But yeah, literally it did. It started right in this fucking driveway. So I have a podcast thing to talk about, another podcast, which made me think about how that started that day too.
There are other podcasts?
1, 2,
okay.
maybe 3, four, maybe 5 at the most.
Okay.
5. There's 5 of them out there. But I'll get to that anyhow, because I got a note on that. But that is kind of funny. Yeah, all this shit started literally coming up on, when was that? Would have been 2020.
3 years ago.
Yeah, 21. Yep. Thanksgiving of 21. So yeah, shit. Yeah, the great idea of this, our brain trust got together at literally in the driveway during Thanksgiving and produced this fucking shit. So
yep.
Yeah. That's about what we could do. But yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. I had this idea because it was a thing that happened this week, kind of a big thing, and like I had some, I don't know, some lighthearted things and whatever to say about it. And I'm like, you know what? After this week, I'm like, there's nothing to fucking joke about. There's too much fucking hate, out there. So I had another idea. Okay, so I got to read something into the record if you don't mind. So first of all,
please do. The floor is yours.
A couple of questions for you though, Mike. So I think we've made it clear that we are not an AA sanctioned or sponsored podcast, right?
No, of course not.
Okay. Yeah. However, you and I went through the program, are part of the program, live in each day, and live by the steps, traditions, and principles. Would you say?
Absolutely. Hopefully. Trying. Working on it every fucking day.
Again, I fucked up on world headquarters and trying. What's wrong with me tonight? God damn it. I got to get back out on the road. I can't think straight here, baby. So I would not have known what tradition this was, but I looked it up because it kind of made me think about this, and maybe we can adopt this, at least in the short term, if not forever.
Okay.
This Tradition 10 says, Alcoholics Anonymous, we can just substitute sober not mature
Mhm.
has no opinion on outside issues.
Right.
It's only
Hence
half of it.
the sober not mature name may not be right.
Right. So again, that's only half of it. The other one talks about obviously throwing AA's name in the mix and blah blah blah. But
Mhm.
and I thought about it. And it's kind of a lie because we have a lot of opinions. But when
Oh
it comes
yeah.
down to some of the again when big things happen that we just don't. There's no point. Everyone's out there doing the thing. Let's just be
Mhm.
rebels and not talk about let's not talk about the obvious, right?
Right. The
Okay.
gorilla in the room.
Yeah. Once again, let me read that again from our standpoint. Sober, not mature, has no opinion on outside issues. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Cool. We're in
Yeah.
agreement.
You said issue.
Issue issues outside issues. But okay, so there was another event since you and I talked last, and that we can bring up because
Okay.
I need to congratulate the Detroit fucking Lions for making the Green Bay Packers their bitches last Sunday. Oh, okay. So congratulations on your Lions. They played there, and I knew it going in.
Mhm.
The Lions are no fucking joke. They're a really good team.
Right.
I knew that going in, but I everyone can talk about the weather and stuff like that, but I think unless it wasn't raining and cold and crazy conditions on maybe Detroit's side of the field was dry,
Sure.
maybe.
Right.
And I think, and when they switched fields, that side of the field got dry in perfect conditions. So I'll give that to them. I mean, yeah, it was unfair because they didn't have the same conditions that Green Bay did, but
Sure.
um,
Wait, I thought that was the Bears. Dick could control the weather according to his moods.
that's probably the third or fourth time that saying's been brought up on here, and I love it. I thank
It's
you
my
again.
favorite.
I know it is. So, but here's the thing. I try to take positives out of, again, we talk about not bad days, just bad moments and things
Hmm.
like that. That was a bad, 60 minutes?
All
60 minutes.
right.
There was a few moments in there that were decent, but the only thing, if somebody just looked at the score at the end,
Hmm.
that did not tell the story of how shitty that they played.
Right.
So the only positive I can take out of it is Green Bay finally has a defense that works because that's the only reason that score wasn't 54-10.
Right.
I mean, seriously, because fucking Detroit, I mean, they controlled the entire goddamn game.
Hmm.
So
I mean, I maybe watched 7 minutes of it, but all right.
it was just it was penalties and it was all this different stuff and they couldn't drop passes, drop snaps. It was crazy. There was just so much, but Detroit kept their shit together and I mean Dan Campbell, I mean that dude he's
Right.
done fucking wonders in that city and
Hmm.
yeah, and I wasn't even mad. I was just kind of shaking my head. I'm like, fuck it, man. It's literally I looked at the score and I'm like, God, only 24-14. That felt far worse.
Hmm.
It felt like a larger dildo being shoved up my ass is what it felt
Ah,
like.
well.
Well, there's an opinion for you. How's that, huh? All right. So, but I did. I wanted to at least congratulate your Lions before you had a chance to bring it up and rub it in my face. So
Yeah,
I took.
I seriously, it was, 5 days ago. I fucking don't remember
I
yesterday.
know.
So,
I
right.
know. Well, I wrote it down because I had this whole thing. That was part of my joke. I was going to lead in with something, but again, let me read that again. Sober, not mature. I'm not going to read it again. Everyone gets the fucking point. So, what we do not necessarily have opinions on, but we do like to spread good words and roll them around in our heads, right?
We do.
So, with that, I think, how about a reading there, Michael?
How about it, Michael?
I'm trying to be
Uh,
professional. I can't get anything else
wow.
fucking right.
Oh, I guess you are back at world headquarters.
Yeah, I got my
Right.
got my shirt and tie on and the whole bit.
Mm. I'm wearing sweats. All
Yeah, I
right.
am too. Sweats and a t-shirt, so I fucking lied again.
Wow. All right. Blah blah blah. Yeah, nothing's jumping out at me, and well, I mean, kind of did, and this is from this week earlier, and I'm starting to like not remember what I've read before.
It's okay.
I'll read one and I'll go, God, did we do that already? What I need to do is like go back and figure out the ones that I've read before, make a little mark in my book, so I won't have that confusion anymore. But that didn't happen tonight. So I think I don't know. Anyway, we'll just try this. Here we go. November 3rd. This was earlier in the week. I did stick my little piece of paper in there. So it held. Maybe it was for the second, but here's the third. Let's try this. Fear grows out of things we think. It lives in our minds. Compassion grows out of the things we are. It lives in our hearts. Barbara Garrison. Don't know. Didn't look her up. We have been trained to be afraid. We are afraid of other people. We are afraid of failure. We are afraid of the unknown. We are even afraid of little things such as being late for the bus or wearing the wrong kind of clothes to a gathering. This is the way of addiction. It likes us to be afraid. As addicts, we have often eased our fears with alcohol or drugs. Our sober self is much braver. We are less self-centered. We focus more on what is in our hearts. We pay attention to other people, not just ourselves, and we actually care about others for a change. Prayer for the day. Higher power, help me stay in the safety of caring about others today. When I think about myself too much, I get in trouble. Today's action. Today, I will ask myself the following question. When I need to do some serious thinking about myself, whom do I trust to help me? I will make sure I go to this person for input and guidance and to avoid the fear that will develop if I isolate myself in my own thoughts.
Well,
Right.
so what was that? So it's when you go to think about yourself, who do you trust to confide in? Correct?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So I mean, let's start with that. I mean, do you have situations like, well, first of all, do you sit down and you're like, I'm
Hmm.
going to think about myself right now?
God, I try not to.
Well, and that's why I said that question could be kind of skewed in that area.
Uh-huh.
But let's just say that that my friend Mike over there was having kind of a fucked up day or whatever, or even a
Mm-hmm.
moment, and
Right.
sort of think about I don't know your life choices. I don't know whatever the fuck you want to think about,
Wow.
and
No, I mean, it's funny because I mean, I really don't think about my life choices anymore. I mean, I think about, when I was fucked up occasionally, but I mean, as far as my life today, I don't think about the choices that I've made because, you know, I, we've had this guidance the past 14 and a half years or whatever. And so the choices I've made, either I use, what are the absolutes, the program, the whatever, the principles that we've been taught in this thing, or run it by somebody. And so I don't question them. I mean, has everything turned out perfectly? Fuck no. But things are a hell of a lot better than they've ever been in my life before. So why the hell would I focus on that? Ooh, well, maybe if I would have done, fuck that. No, it's again, I cannot waste any more time. I wasted decades of my life. I don't waste my time doing shit like that today. The choices I've made, where I'm at in my life today, I'm pretty okay with. And I again, like the fucked up choices I made in my past when I was fucked up and didn't have these guardrails, guide rails, whatever. Um, they have, we've talked about it plenty of times, those have meaning and worth today too. So I don't question any of that shit anymore. I'm right where I'm supposed to be because where the fuck else am I going to be but right here?
right. Well, and I was thinking about it as you were, because I do is I've gotten in kind of a habit of focusing a little bit on that action because usually again it's an action, it's a thing, and an opportunity that usually for us to start off a conversation in that part of the reading. But it
Mm-hmm.
kind of crossed my mind, and I'm like, I didn't think about it in the way of like you said, I don't sit back and think about my life choices, but
Mm.
I mean, I don't really either. I mean, it's the only time again. I think I would be. I'd be a fucking liar to say that, you don't have these waves of things that come across your
Oh, of
face and through
course.
your mind every once in a while, but that's just we're human. These memories, it could be any reason in the world.
Right.
I don't to our point that we've talked about, we don't dwell on those. But I mean, if the cool part that I thought about when it said, I'll find somebody to confide in and talk
Mm-hmm.
about what I'm feeling or doing, the first thing I thought about, I'm like, that's what I do here. you know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, literally, I mean, granted, if there's something you and I have had clearly conversations outside of these fucking microphones over the
Mm-hmm.
last, 2.5 years or almost,
Sure.
God, coming up on 3 years. Eh.
Mm-hmm.
But in this time frame, but for the most part, once again,
Yeah.
90% of the things that we
Yeah.
got going on, we can talk about on here,
Yep.
even if it's slightly veiled, because we've done
Mm-hmm.
that too,
Right. Of
changing the
course.
names or
Right. To
whatever to
protect the
protect the
innocent.
protect the
Yes.
innocent, or those we just don't feel like fucking with at the time.
Right.
So,
Or
but
protect the
yeah,
guilty.
yeah, that's another goddamn good point. But so this has been that just goes back to everything we've talked about for the last 2.5 years of what a great outlet this really is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, I talk about it all the time. The number of people that we had listening a year ago, was more than what it is now. It
Mm-hmm.
fluctuates a little bit, but we're not half, but maybe about half, what it was. But we've
Right.
still got this core, literally this core of people, whoever the fuck you guys are. Thank you.
Right.
And why you're still here, I don't know, but thank you again.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, tell somebody about it if this
Right.
if this means anything to you. I wouldn't mind to have a couple of more ears out there, but
Sure.
that doesn't even fucking matter because the point is exactly what I was just saying is that we started this thing for us, really,
Yeah.
to get together on a Friday night and do exactly what we're still doing
Mm-hmm.
142 episodes later and two and a half, almost two, coming up on 3 years later. So
Right.
there's my fucking action for the day. I just said
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Right. I mean, for me, a big part of the podcast is just, this is what it is, kids, early recovery, later recovery, whatever. This is fucking life, man. It's just a couple sober dudes getting together and talking about our shit and discussing some sober stuff, but basically, just being an example, attraction rather than promotion, which, we try to promote a little bit, but because this, as we started off with, this is not AA.
Right. Yeah, it is not. It is not even close. Well, it's AA adjacent. We talk about it, we're
Yes.
part of, but yeah, we make it I'm just glad we decided never to do the fucking disclosures because that still drives me
Mm.
nuts when I hear people saying that we're not mental health professionals. We're not this. And I'm like, did you have to tell me that?
Yeah,
Really?
right. I think clearly anyone that's listening to this knows we're none of those things.
Yeah, and if you choose to take our advice, if you choose to take our suggestions, so be it. If it works out for you,
Right.
same thing. I'll go back to that dude Madison, that dude that was called Bear, who was a big fucking burly biker, and
Right.
his thing all the time, what he would share in these discussion meetings, at the end of every time that he shared like that, he would say, "You know what? That's my program. It works for me.
Mm-hmm.
You may get drunk on my program, I may get drunk on yours, but this is what
Oh,
works for me." And he would say that word for word every time. And sometimes
nice.
when I hear people repeat that shit or certain things, it irritates me. But that was comforting because I'm like, I love this dude. You look at him
Mm-hmm.
and he was scary as fuck, even cleaned up.
Right.
But I mean, one of the most had probably 20 plus years sober and
Sure.
lots of things to say. Loved to hear his own voice. One of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, he was just like, I don't know. He's like, yeah,
Right.
what the fuck do I know? This is
Right.
what works for me.
Exactly. That's it, man. Right. This shit's working for me. I don't know. Right. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to work for you. Um, it probably fucking won't. But
Right? Yeah.
but it's, I'm sober and I'm happy and well, ish. And right. Yeah. So fuck it. I my life is good. So it's clearly something's working.
Right.
I think I'll keep doing it.
And a couple other things. I mean, obviously, again, talking about fear, which
Mm-hmm.
figuring out that it lies behind everything in our lives was
Right.
just an epiphany for me. But the couple of things that said obviously fear lives in our lives. I think I wrote down. I don't remember what fear lives in our something. We're trained to be afraid, which
Right.
that one, let me go back to that for a minute or in a minute, but afraid of little things. So that one really kind of got to me too, only in the fact that thinking back, even now, I mean, I tend to I don't know if I tend to focus more on little things, but it's the little things it's the irritants that'll get to me more than the big events
Sure.
in some cases. Like we even talked about, the big deaths when mom died and stuff like that. Those are
Mm-hmm.
they're so blatant that that, oh, I got to watch myself. I got to be around people. We all got to
Right.
come together type of thing. But it's these little things that fuck with us and could fuck with us. So, being afraid of the little the what ifs, the maybe this will happen, all those
Mm-hmm.
sort of things. I could probably I'm probably more guilty of that still these days than anything else. It's those little things I got to watch out for. I mean, are you the same or no?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, and it's the what you said, the what ifs, right?
Right.
Um, God, getting a fucking shovel full of that shit this week. Um, whatever. Don't have an opinion on any of it, but yeah, definitely getting a lot of what ifs, and people afraid, man. People close to me afraid of what ifs right now, and I'm just like, fuck, and I can't. It's tough because I want to be comforting because again, people I care about, but I also want to just shake them and go, but none of this has happened. It's not reality right now. It's one of the wonderful gifts of this program is I live in the now, man. If it's not fucking going on, if it's going on, okay, fine, then I'll deal with that. But if it's not, I'm not going to think about it. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not if it if and when something happens, then I'll deal with it. But if it hasn't happened yet, I'm not going to worry about it because it might not. It might not, but it's not happening right now. That's all I can focus on. And I'm glad that's all I can focus on because I'll get all wound up about all kinds of shit that either has happened before or is about to happen, but it's not happening now. And you know, take a look around. I've got to tell people all the time, and I'm getting tired of saying it. Look around you. Is anything happening right now? No. Okay, then stop fucking stressing about it because it's not happening now. Nothing is, or it's actually pretty good. I'm comfortable. I have electric lighting and heat and, soft pillows, running hot water. It's a fucking beautiful thing. I'll focus on that shit.
Right. Yeah, and it's I mean we've talked about that too, that these little things that I know for a fact I can what if myself into, if nothing else, a severe fucking panic attack,
Right.
or I mean, worst case scenario, if I keep what ifing myself, I'm going to what if myself right out of this, this fucking sobriety thing,
Mm-hmm.
because that goes back to, it's one of the next thing I wrote down: alcohol and drugs ease the fears,
Absolutely.
and you know what? I thought of everything that you just said. I thought about, kind of what's the climate of things right now,
Mm-hmm.
with people, and again, abuse and alcohol and drugs and that sort of
Mm.
thing. But the whole point is, it just, and yeah, that is a um it's a beautiful benefit of, we get so many benefits from
Mm-hmm.
this whole sobriety thing, and a program of action that we're involved in and all those sort of things. But being able to literally just try to be and live where we are,
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy all the time, but
No.
we've learned how to, that okay, all this fucking shit's going on over here, but I need to, again, the blinders on and look at this stuff. We've talked about that before, and just say that, okay, yeah, right now at this moment things are pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hang out, and I'm gonna hang out and be me.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever happens tomorrow, fuck, you and I may drink tomorrow. We might be dead tomorrow.
Right.
Nothing matters. It just doesn't matter. I almost want to
Right.
do a Metallica song rather than Bill Murray. God damn it, I want to
Ah.
do that. It just doesn't matter.
Right. And clearly things do matter, and
Right. No,
take
I
care of
know.
the people around you and whatever. But again, powerless over a whole bunch of shit. And I'm not gonna, I don't have those control issues anymore. If I can't control it, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna worry about the shit I can control, and that's all I can do. Again, that's nice too.
Right. And then that's, kind of funny. The next thing I wrote down: pay attention to others, which is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you just said and exactly what we try to do. We need to try to be there for others, but yeah, also try to, if nothing else, say, hey, you know what? Things are okay right now. I get it.
Right.
Shit goes sideways. I'll be right there with you to try
Oh,
to help you out.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that's the only other thing that I don't know, I guess this is sideline to everything that's going on. But I mean, the two of us are, two fucking white males in our mid 50s.
Uh-huh.
We don't we are not part of that we are not part of what could be the affected
Mm-hmm.
groups, you know,
I've had that
and
pointed out to me several times this week.
oh, and I'm fully aware of it, which is why I
Right.
mean half the time I just keep my mouth shut because
Right.
it's not my place. I don't.
Oh
It's not that
yeah.
I don't want to help or defend or do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a 56-year-old white boy living in the suburbs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the fuck do I know?
Right.
You know, I mean, what even when I travel, I'm a fucking 56-year-old white boy. Yeah, well, say so. I was in the country hood for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking, but I'm in the middle of fucking mountains. It's goddamn beautiful, you know.
Right.
But I mean, again, we don't have the problems that some of these perceived things could be. So part of
Sure.
that, I get it, but I don't, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
it's just not. I can't. I don't have that voice, you know. I
Right.
don't.
Right. But as a white late 50s male, I can certainly stand up for those people if somebody
Oh
tries to
God,
fuck with
yes,
them. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So,
And
yeah.
we've made that very clear. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'll stand up for fucking anyone. I mean,
Yep.
I will live for, as a people always say, you know, you say you die for your family, man. Would you live for them? Yes,
What
I
moron
would.
said that?
I don't know. It's I can't believe you've never seen that. Maybe it's just on Instagram, but there are always
Mm,
these. It's not a meme, but it's a post all over the place all the time.
mm.
You say you die for your family and friends. Would you live for them, or would you get healthy for them? Would you get sober for them?
Ah,
And I'm just like fucking Jesus Christ, you know? It's just a goddamn saying. I would die for you means I'd do anything for you. Yeah.
right.
Would you live for them, man?
Think I am.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. So
I'm kind of not dying for them. Hi, how you doing? I want to be around to help you. If I'm
right.
dead, what the fuck? I
Yeah.
die for you. That's fucking stupid.
Right, exactly. So, but anyhow, so I think we, yeah, that was a slight opinion, but I think we made, no, you know what? We had points. We made our
We did.
points. How's that?
Yep.
But no, I mean the reading itself, and I do actually remember reading that because all these ones that are the fear based
Mm-hmm.
readings lately, I'm paying a little bit more attention to them when they
Right.
come up because of the fact that once again it was a fucking revelation for me
Yeah.
realizing that every issue, every problem, every anxiety, everything that's wrong with me is fucking fear based, and
Right.
that's not even an exaggeration. That's a
Right.
fucking fact,
Yeah.
and
Right. And
I
I mean,
hate it.
again, well, and so if that's the case, then the whole point of doing this is to not be afraid.
Right.
Right. Be brave. Be confident that there is a solution and we will find it, you know? So and we will. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So, anything else on the reading? I mean, again, the fear ones, I'm really, I like readings in general, but these fear based ones, I don't know, I'm digging them. I like them. I like
Yeah.
them a lot.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, well, it's it. That is the way of addiction. It likes us to be afraid.
Right.
Well, fuck. I'm not in addiction anymore, so I'm not gonna be fucking afraid.
Right. Yeah, and that is. I mean, everything that we were caught in for fucking years
Hmm.
was fear
Right.
based, and then we drank over it, and then we got afraid, and then we drank over it, and then we
Right.
fucked things up, and then we drank over it.
Yeah. So today I'll be brave. And if I see something that's wrong, I will try to fix it, making our little corner of the world a better place.
I made a point of posting that Canva picture a couple of times this week. I know I did it today or yesterday, but yeah, I just tried to hit that. Yeah, our little corner of the world, our little corner of the
Yep.
world.
That's it.
That's
That's
all the
all
fuck we
we
can
have
do.
right. I mean, what little control we have, and it is very little, that is it right there in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, anything else on the reading, or you all good?
Nah, I think we're good.
Okay. So it got kind of a weird comment that came through. I get an email on it. It was a comment that was made on. Do you even remember that we have a YouTube channel?
I mean, I suppose if it's brought up to me as it was just now,
Right.
I am aware of it. I've certainly never been there, but I know it's out there somewhere. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
shit floating out there on the interwebs.
There's look up sober not mature. We're pretty much everywhere. So yeah. So and the only thing that is on our YouTube channel, I'll say we because I'll include you in this, even though you
Mm,
you wouldn't do anything on it anyhow, and
no,
that's okay. I don't mean that in a
right,
bad way. I'm just saying.
right,
Um, I don't do anything on it either. The way I have our podcast website set up is that it automatically posts each one of our our webisodes. Jesus
Our
fucking Christ.
webisodes. You wascally wabbit.
You wascally websited webisodes. But every one of our episodes gets automatically posted to what is now X. We have a
Mm.
Twitter account or X account. Never
Mm.
do anything on that, but
No.
our episode links go on there. And they go on YouTube. And all it is our audio gets uploaded into
Right.
there with I think it's probably the whatever the episode picture is. So it's
Okay.
not video. We could do something. I
Sure.
don't know. Whatever.
Mm.
It's there.
Yeah.
So this I
It
get this
exists.
message. Yeah, it does. So I get this message from this person, and it says for whatever reason YouTube suggested this to me, meaning obviously our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And the guy says that he said that having beeps in your intro could cause people not to listen past the first 30 seconds, and that was it. Because the intro that
Oh
I
yeah.
do, I separated
Right.
all the points with the beeps,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Which I think we put that the beeps. God, was it right away? I don't remember. It might have been,
Yeah.
or pretty goddamn close to being right
Right.
away.
Yeah. First couple episodes, definitely.
And I think we might have had one of our guests questioned it at one point, just saying that they didn't realize that we did that long lead into it. But we've had a couple of people say they love it. At least when she first did the review of our podcast, she thought it was funny as fuck.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't. It's the first person in all this time that's ever said it, but I wrote it down because anything
Probably
like
the first
that.
person that's ever heard it.
Right. But my first thing I was gonna, because you could comment back. I'm like, that's all I commented back was that's an interesting thought. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to say is like, what the fuck are you talking about? We've had it there for whatever, but you only
Right.
get a certain number of characters, first of all. But I was gonna say, you realize there's a fast forward button. I mean,
Uh-huh.
whatever. You can go forward 10 seconds and anyhow. But I don't know. If anyone is listening, listen to our intro. Give us your opinion. I'd be interested. If people are irritated by it, I don't really give a fuck if anyone listens to the intro anyhow.
Right.
If you as a listener don't like it, again, you can skip forward by 10 seconds on any one of the streaming apps.
Sure.
I know for a fact you can because I do
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't like it, forward through it. But I just be curious if anyone is actually really irritated by it. I'm just interested.
Hmm.
Interested. That's all.
Did a heart monitor scare you at one point when you were a small child? What the fuck, man? I mean, right. I mean, I like them
I do
personally.
too.
Yeah,
I do
right.
too.
I think that yeah, it's just, I don't know. I find them pleasant. So there.
I know. It's just it kind of blew my mind. But like again, anything like this, I bring up to you because this is our time, Mr. Hand. And
Right.
this is our podcast. So I figured I'd bring it up to you. So
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Guy sounds like he's got some other issues he needs to work on.
Well, and the funniest part was
Did the
YouTube
Roadrunner scare you?
YouTube recommended this to me for some reason. It was that sort of thing, and I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, well,
Okay.
YouTube. At least YouTube's doing its job. They recommended us to you.
All
So
right.
so yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, right. Why are you allowing some non-intelligent artificial intelligence to tell you what to do?
Yeah, and then find the need to comment on it, right?
Uh-huh. Huh.
All right. So here's the thing about the podcast, and I just found this out. Maybe it was last week, but I forgot to bring it up. So there was a podcast that I've listened to, gosh, for a couple of years because the way that I was introduced to this other podcast, and it's the male and female podcast, the ones that
Right.
took the hiatus at one time, the one
Yeah,
that
yeah, you
yeah,
talked
and
about them.
yeah, and I mean, I do enjoy it. They usually put out an episode every Thursday. And it was one of our listeners that recommended the podcast to me 2 years ago, whenever they started.
Okay.
So usually it's Thursdays, and a lot of times either I would listen to it that weekend or whatever the deal was, and I didn't see a new episode. And I waited. This was like back at the end of shit. This might even been while I was by you, because
Okay.
it was over a month ago now. And then, finally I clicked. I'm like, God, I haven't seen a new episode. And look, they had no new episodes.
Hmm.
And I know that the one individual is on TikTok, one individual is only on Instagram now. So I just popped when I was on Instagram, I looked it up, and I'm looking back and I'm trying to find anything about, if he put anything up there about the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so he put this video, and they used to always start off their podcast with, Happy Thursday, welcome to. So that's how he opened up his post.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, he goes, blah, blah, blah. He goes, if you're wondering, it's not not a podcast today. And he goes, we decided to, he used the word sunset the podcast.
Ah.
And I'm like, really? And then he said that him and his co-host went to record that day, and I guess they were about to record, and they just looked at each other and like, yeah, we're done. We have
Hmm.
nothing more to talk about. And he's like, there's no drama, that we're friends or whatever. We just
Right.
There's nothing else to talk about. We've had with thousands of listeners and millions of downloads. And these are people that their TikTok followers were 200 a piece, like 200,000 each on
Yeah.
TikTok. And then he dumped TikTok completely and is only on Instagram, ton of followers on Instagram. So they have the volume of people. So
Right.
again, even if you got thousands of people, I could see, he's saying they had millions of downloads, and he's just, well, they had sponsorships and all these different, they're one of the ones that were doing a lot of the buy me a coffee and,
Mm-hmm.
sustain our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just fucking done. And I'm like, well, that
Wow.
sucks,
Yeah.
and so two things I talked about, and I don't really question. I thought about this from two different standpoints. They do whatever they want to do. I'm not criticizing them for it. I thought it was weird
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, I was reading some of the comments, a lot of people were bummed out. They're like, man, I listened to you when I first got sober. You're part of my week and this and
Yeah.
that. Kind of what it made
Right.
me think about what we hopefully, if nothing else, are trying to accomplish. But
Mm-hmm.
then I thought about it so from that standpoint, from a listener, but also from an early recovery type of thing. But then I thought about it from our side of things, and I think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong. If let's just say when, because I mean I don't think we're going to be doing this on our deathbeds,
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably not.
whenever we decide to shut this fucking thing down,
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll do a final episode. I think.
Oh yeah, I would think so. Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
I don't want to hop on here one night. You're just like, yeah, we're done. We're not doing this anymore.
Right.
Not you, but
Right.
it would just seem fucking weird,
Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah.
no, there's no writing on the wall everywhere. We're not quitting. I'm talking about
No. No.
somebody else. We are not
We're
talking
talking
about
about somebody else.
yeah. Yeah, we're not talking, this isn't no forecast or foreshadowing.
Right.
But I think the only way that it might end, and I was thinking about this too, kind of in a sick way. The only way it might end up abruptly is if one of us fucking dies.
Yeah, yeah. And I would hope that the other one would come on I'd try to figure something out right. Cause I mean, you do all the technical shit. I'd try to figure some way to get on here and let people know you were dead.
Right. And you're not doing the podcast anymore because Bill's dead and I don't know how to do everything. So.
Right.
But here, just a side note for you: if I die and you don't know what to do, just get a hold of Elise. She can put you back on the air. I know she can. She can
okay.
get you back. She can get you back up and running.
Right.
Sure
I mean, I would figure something out. Right.
Right. So I mean, worst case, the sober curator could help you out. Okay.
Okay.
But on my end, and I guess I thought about that on your end too. I mean, yeah. I mean, you don't do. I knew you'd figure it out, but.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what I'm going to do. If it, God forbid, I mean, I'm just not wishing you dying or anything like that.
I appreciate that.
I'm just saying, if it happens, you remember Bewitched, right?
Yes.
Nobody does. I'm sure that's listening to us based on our age range. Some of them do,
right.
But remember when they just switched out Darren's and didn't tell anyone?
Yeah. One dick for another.
Yeah. Dick Sargent is
Dick York.
Yeah, to Dick York.
Right.
So.
Actually, the other way. Yeah, it was Sergeant York. Okay.
It was one dick to the other. I like the way you put that to begin with. That worked out well. So maybe I'll just hop on here and say, hey, Mike's dead, but here's Mike.
Here's Mike. Hi there.
And it doesn't matter. It could be whether it's another guy that I get as a co-host or a chick. The person's name's going to be Mike because I don't want to go through. I get too much shit out on Canva and stuff like that. Everything says Mike and Bill. Maybe I could just blur out your picture and just randomly put some other picture in there.
Right.
I don't know.
Chris is really good at Photoshop, so she could help you out with that. Help her over her grief.
Yeah, I know your man just died, but hey, can you help me out with some Photoshop? I don't want to. I want to Photoshop out your man and my best friend. Got to get this podcast back on the air.
Right.
But no, on a serious note, it kind of blew my mind a little bit because what I thought about, and back to the driveway thing when we were talking about it, that first wow, the first podcast that I listened to was called Recovery Happy Hour, and her name is Trisha Lewis, and I only say all that stuff because she's very open with her name and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. At the time I started listening to her podcast, she had already done, or it was right around the time that she had done her last episode. So I knew it was done
Mm-hmm.
at that time. And I remember,
Sure.
and because she just, I listened to her, she was on Sober Friends on Matt's podcast a
Okay.
few weeks ago or a month ago.
Mm.
I think she did 138 episodes or whatever it was.
Okay.
And when she ended, and I listened to them all in order, and I didn't jump through to listen why she quit.
Mm-hmm.
But she came on and did a normal show, and then at the end of it, she dropped a fucking bomb and just said that, hey, here's what my deal is. She goes, I'm to a point where I'm big enough where I can do this full time if I wanted to. It takes some work, or I
Mm-hmm.
could go back and just kind of go into a different part of life and
Right.
shut this thing down. Maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't, but this is my last episode. My website's going to stay up. All my episodes are going to stay up. But she had a full explanation of why she did it.
Right.
And, a lot of people, she started off, I mean, God, in 2017 or 18, something like that, I think. Could be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But I mean, so she was one of the early ish ones from the Sober podcast.
Sure.
It did really well, had really, really well, but she decided to go in another direction. But, again, I was kind of bummed out because she was, again, where I got my start with these sober podcasts.
Right.
But also literally she was the catalyst for this thing,
Mm-hmm.
for this podcast. But, I don't know. It just kind of, it didn't even bother me. It threw me a little bit that they were just like, we're not going to record anymore. We're done.
Yeah. Right. Mm.
So just
Right.
weirdish, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit happens,
I know.
Right. I mean, I've talked about the afternoon show I listened to here, the talk show here in Cleveland, the Alan Cox show. He works for WMMS, which is a cheap channel. I mean, clear channel. I mean, iHeart Radio, whatever the fuck it is now. Yeah, and they did a bunch of major cutting last week, and his two co-hosts were fired.
Really?
So yeah. So I mean, they've been running best of all week, and he's supposed to come back on live on Monday, and it's going to be weird because I mean, the one guy who's been with them like 11 years, and yeah, he's gone. So yeah, but that's corporate and blah 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 blah, and that nobody had any say in that. That was the corporation saying, nope, we're not paying any more money for this show. These people are gone. And yeah, so it's going to be weird, but I mean, yeah, this is, nobody's telling us what the fuck to do.
Right.
So, we're staying on till we don't want to anymore. And when we don't want to anymore, trust me, we're going to let you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just and again, I'm trying not to pass judgment, and I'm not meaning to pass judgment on them. My first thought was, yeah, how could they do that? Blah blah blah. But that's unfair. It's
Mm,
not my place or anyone's place to do it.
right.
But yeah, I thought about it from because I was an avid listener of their podcast, and
Right.
I enjoyed it.
Well,
Um,
okay, I'm gonna go at it in another direction. We're fucking sober and we're supposed to have some sort of principles in our lives, and we're not supposed to be selfish and self-centered anymore, not completely. And yeah, we get on here, we ramble and we talk about whatever, but I know that there are people out there that listen and listen fairly regularly. And, I, as a listener of podcasts, radio shows, and programs and whatever programs, um,
stories.
right, exactly. You build a relationship with these people that you don't know. And, and yeah, I mean, to do that is, I think, pretty fucking shitty, quite frankly, especially for a sober podcast. I mean, if it's about, Joe Rogan does it or something, who fucking cares? He's an
Right.
asshole. But again, people enjoy him, and that would be, he just fucking disappears, would be weird and unfair to the people that have committed the time to, whatever, spend a little of their lives listening to what you do. That means something to me. Yeah, there's no way in hell I'd just fucking disappear. I mean, if I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to let you know why, and I'm going to let you know when I'm going to stop doing it,
Right.
because I appreciate and understand as a listener to other shows what it means to listen to his show regularly. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of selfish and shitty, and I will judge them. Fuck them.
You know what? And that's I couldn't figure out what because, like I said, I felt like I was kind of wishy washy on it because I couldn't figure out exactly how I felt. But that's a good point.
Mm.
Is I was thinking about it from again, we would do that, and the listeners, but that is a good point.
But
Maybe
why
maybe
wouldn't we do that?
well, and
That's
that's
why,
my
what I just
that's my
talked
point.
about.
And
Right.
I wasn't. It was there, but I wasn't realizing that that's what I was feeling. So yeah, you're exactly right. It goes outside of what we were taught to just
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden stop.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we've learned anything, don't fucking stop.
Yeah.
And and if you're going to change, and it's going to affect someone else, you need to let them know why. Yeah. I mean, that's again, principles, man.
Right.
Practice these things in all of our affairs. Well, this is one of our affairs. So I'm going to practice that shit that I was taught. Right. It's not all about me. If I need to change something in my life and it's going to affect you, I'm going to explain why I need to do it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's up to you to, you can be pissed or sad or fucking happy that I'm not around anymore, but that's on you. My side of the street's going to be clean because I'm going to explain to you exactly why I'm doing it.
Right. So if we decide to I don't know, bring a monkey on as part of the show, we don't necessarily
We're getting a monkey?
we don't necessarily have
Fucking cool.
We don't necessarily have to explain that. We just one day we're just gonna have a fucking monkey.
Oh yeah. Can we spank it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'll never forget. This has nothing to do with spanking, but we were early. God, I think it was in the first year. We were talking about again, this whole idea of the things that, telling people we got to do these certain things because of our sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I said that could be, I remember thinking to myself, I could use that, for evil rather than good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started making a joke. You're like, yeah, you could just do whatever. You're like, you could bring a goat for Christmas. You told me to bring a goat to Christmas, put a fedora on his head, tie a big book around his neck, and call him Bill. And I'm sure you don't remember that.
I don't. That's good though. I like it.
It was fucking great. And you're like, it doesn't matter. People can't say anything. Just saying it. This keeps me sober.
That's right. This is my emotional support goat, Bill.
Yeah. But yeah, you said again, a goat, a fedora, and again to put tie a big book around his neck.
Wow. What the fuck is wrong with me?
You know what? Fucking nothing, because that was 13 and a half years ago probably, and I'll never fucking forget it. It was so fucking funny. So
nice. God damn, I like that.
That might have actually
I'm all right.
You know what? Come to think of it, that might have been 14 years ago, because we might have been going into our first holidays, because it would have been before Thanksgiving. And
right.
I think that was, because I think that's because you didn't come to Christmas until the second year.
Right.
And Thanksgiving, no, you didn't do Thanksgiving, because I did. Yeah, that was the dry Thanksgiving we did at Mom's. But
right.
yeah, it might have literally 14 years ago you had that beautiful and wonderful thought.
Wow.
Yeah, but no, I just had kind of tears in my eyes again thinking about it. It's just fucking walk in the house. Could you imagine that, walking into John and Gail's house? My aunt and uncle had this. They lived in what looked like the Home Alone house.
Yeah.
As my uncle was an attorney and did very well for himself, and they lived in a Home Alone house.
Yeah, right.
So, and it was nicely done, and again, my aunt very particular, and
oh god, it was a beautiful house. Yeah. I mean, built in the 20s, about a block off the lake in Lakewood. Yeah, it was fucking great. I love that place.
And then I come strolling in with a fucking goat with a fedora and a big book around his neck.
Yep.
I want to go back and do that now. They're suggested to somebody, so
I know I got to look up rent a goat.
You know what? There's a business idea. We have an LLC.
Hi, do you need a goat? I think on that note, we need to take a break. Speaking of sponsorships and commercials, we'll be right back with more goat talk right after these words from our sponsors.
Hey everyone, it's your friends at Sober Not Mature.
Hi
And
there.
yes, it's both of your friends this time. Hi Mike, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Bill?
I am doing well, but we do have a purpose. We actually usually talk about our one website, but we actually have two websites now. So we wanted two websites in one. All right, so everyone knows we still have the podcast website that is www.SoberNotMature.com. And we just launched the store website, so we also have that. Do you know what the website address is on that one, Mike?
Of course I don't.
It's pretty easy, Mike. It's www.SoberNotMatureShop.com.
Ah.
But from the podcast website, you can still hit the store link and get into the web store, or you can access it from our Instagram page through the highlights. We've been posting quite a bit about it, and we'll continue to do that. But do you know what's on the second website, Mike?
Well, there's a store. There are products that you can purchase for you and your loved ones.
Well, Mike, do we still have merchandise?
We have merchandise. Well, we got T-shirts and coffee mugs and all kinds of crap.
And one of the coolest parts, we also do have all the recovery books from Hazelden, which is kind of a big deal.
That is a big deal.
At least for us. So all the books that we read, God Grant Me, 24 Hours, the Big Book, the 12 and 12, all of those books are available for sale on our website. And again, that store website is www.sober.
Trying to help, man.
I know you are. You're not helping, though. Okay, now I got to say www.SoberNotMatureShop.com. .com. Visit that today, or visit the podcast website, which is, again, the podcast website. So
www.SoberNotMature.com.
Did you just say sober but not mature?
Yeah, sure. Write that down.
Yeah, like fucking mush mouth or something. All right, everyone. You've suffered enough with this, and we'll get back to what we were talking about previously. So visit the websites, though. All right, everyone. Welcome back. And I'll tell you what, if I will owe you $5 right now if you have another relevant goat story. Go, because you said more goat talk. So go.
Oh God.
Yeah, it took too long.
Yeah. No.
Well, okay. You just lost $5.
That's fine. Well spent.
Exactly. So, want to hear about drunk animals? I mean, this doesn't.
Wow, we have a theme going.
You know what? And I didn't even plan that, because I didn't plan on having a flashback to fucking sobriety, my emotional support goat. But there was, again, the morning show. They were talking about in its fermented fruit. They were talking about animals getting drunk on fermented fruit.
Yes.
So, and I've heard about this before, but first of all, the website that the article, because I looked it up, is the website is boingboing.net. So BOING, BOING, fucking boing boing. Can you imagine? Come visit us at boingboing.net. So anyhow, fermented fruit. I think we've actually even talked about that on here, but here's what I didn't know. It said flowering plants begin producing nectar and fruits that could be fermented by yeast. In tropical climates, fruit can reach surprisingly high alcohol levels, up to, and I'm going to let you guess, alcohol by volume in some cases. What do you think it can reach up to, the higher levels? Percentage.
I would think like 35, 40.
That would be a strong fruit. They said 10.2.
Okay.
Which still I thought was I mean, that's impressive itself, biting into a fucking fruit 10%. I mean, that's they were talking about it on the radio. They're like that's a strong IPA. And then the news lady's like, she's like, that's like a bottle of wine. Like, what's in wine? And I'm like, Jesus Christ. But that's the thing, that the story itself didn't really get, kind of like grab me, but the alcohol percentage did, because I think everyone's heard about the whole fermented fruit thing, but
Sure.
I mean, 10%, that
Yeah.
kind of blew my mind. Did you have any clue that it would be that high? Well, clearly you said
Yeah.
40%.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm telling you, wishful thinking. I'm still an alcoholic, folks.
Right. You know what it reminded me of, though? Our good friend, Bob, that
Uh-huh.
said that you had to change your sobriety date if you happen to eat a piece of bad fruit. You remember
Mm.
that when we were in the
Mm-hmm.
three-quarter house? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you fucking idiot. And I'm just like, no, that's not how that fucking works, But I don't know. That had nothing really to do with anything, but the 10% clearly didn't surprise you because you said 40.
Right. Again, I'm fucking drunk, man. I always will
Uh,
be.
All right, let's get to some of the things that I wrote down, because I think I wrote down some poignant things. This one might have been from today, from Keep It Simple. All mistakes in life are gifts. Yes, no, or do you agree or disagree?
All mistakes.
All mistakes in life are gifts.
Well, if you look at them that way, if you turn them into gifts, yeah, absolutely. Right.
Turn that frown upside down.
That's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you're doing it right, absolutely. Yeah, why wouldn't they be? Again, back to the fear shit. We fear those mistakes. I'm not afraid to fail today because of this program. I yes, I learned from my failures, and that's why I'm not afraid to anymore. I used to be scared to death of failing. That's why I didn't fucking do anything. If you don't try, you don't do anything, you can't fail. I'm sitting here. I'm not failing. Look, I'm not failing. Yay. I'm not doing any goddamn thing at all, but I'm not failing. It's kind of like the Browns aren't going to lose this week. They have a bye week.
Yeah, so do the Packers,
Right.
surprisingly.
Well, so there you go. The Browns and the Packers will not lose this week. That is the same concept. They're not going to do anything, so they can't fail. Um, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, my mistakes are gifts. Not to anybody else, but to me, yeah. As long as I don't continue to repeat them, and I learn my lesson from them, yeah, of course, yeah, makes sense to me.
Well, and that's the thing that I mean, long before this whole sober thing, you always hear, you got to learn from your mistakes and blah blah
Right.
blah, and I mean, before we have clearer heads, I mean, I know I never wanted to hear that. I'm like, no,
Right.
fuck that. That's not so fun to that,
No, I'm
but
perfect. I don't make mistakes.
but the other thing too, that you hear, I'm sure you've heard the saying that a mistake that's either repeated or a mistake, quote unquote, that happens more than once is a choice. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not learning from them, so like you said that earlier, and we've said it in a ton of different episodes. As far as the shit that we went through and the mistakes that we made, all those things have worth,
Right.
and all of them do. If we, like you said, the key though is learning from them. Are you going to
Mm-hmm.
keep repeating that same thing over and over? Well, it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad the last time. Whatever it is, and usually it is trying to, I think I'm going to control my drinking or using.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, learning from our mistakes. It was such a simple statement, so I'm like, I don't know, something to talk about. But I agree. I mean, I don't think anyone necessarily looks for making mistakes, but
No.
you can look at it flip it the other way around. I know I'm going to make mistakes, but there's
Mm-hmm.
no fucking way in the world I'm going to learn if I don't make mistakes, because
Right.
like you said, we, unbeknownst, or as much as everyone might think we're perfect, we're not.
Who are these everyone?
Everyone. At least we didn't shut down our podcast and just not record. Hello.
Right.
That's gonna be
Hey.
that's a new standard. As long as we show up every week, we're better than at least some.
Well, yeah. That taught us that real early on, man. Just fucking show up, man. The
Right.
rest of it will take care of itself.
Exactly. So the other thing, and this was just as I was doing my readings, one of the days this week. So when you sit down to do your readings, your prayers, blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
are you completely focused during that time frame, or I mean, like, do other thoughts flow through your head? Do you ever, I mean, like do something else or be like, oh, I almost forgot, I gotta do this or that sort of thing.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll be sitting there or laying there because I usually lay down, get up, take a piss, grab my books, lay back down in bed, and read them. Yeah, I mean, I'll be sitting there reading the words and thinking about what I have to do that day. Sometimes, not all the time. And sometimes I catch myself doing it and go, okay, asshole, pay attention to what you're doing here for your 10 minutes. You'll get to the rest of the day when you get to it.
Right.
Again, that living in the now thing, I'm not fucking perfect at it either. I try because it's easier. But oh yeah, definitely. My mind wanders, wanders all over the goddamn place.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult. I can't remember what day it was, but like two or three things popped into my head while I was doing the readings, and one was
Mm-hmm.
like something that I had to do, and I'm like, ah, fuck it. So I popped out of my reading and made myself a note, and then something else. I'm like, fuck, I remember that. I like got up and grabbed something, and it was like really just one of those days when I was distracted 2-3 times,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just out of the ordinary. So I wrote it down, but yeah,
Right.
there's certain times when I've I don't know if it's always been at night, probably more so at night,
Mm.
where I've done my prayers and I'm like, God, I didn't even focus on that. Hasn't
Mm-hmm.
been many times, but there's been a couple of times when I've said them again because I'm like, I got nothing out of what I just said.
Right.
And I'm like, I need to fucking focus on this stuff. I need to not just recite the words and go through the motions. Although, once again, I mean, I know that the things that we do, the taking the action is one of the main things, if not
Mm-hmm.
the main thing.
Right.
But in a lot of these things, I know the words are sticking in there at least bit by bit. And every year when I read these things, more and more of it probably gels in my head. Maybe that's why I get these fucking light bulb moments. But
Oh yeah.
um, it's hard sometimes to
Well,
just
I
sit,
mean,
and focus.
yeah, and you got to remember we're over 5,000 times of doing this every day, one day at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and not every one of them is going to be super focused and super fucking fruitful. It's not. It's just not. But again, like you said, man, going through the motions and doing the action, even if your heart and your brain and your soul and your what fucking ever isn't completely into it, we're still doing it, and apparently we're still getting the results.
Right.
Right. And again, and then having the knowledge, the self knowledge of going, shit, I kind of did that half assed. Maybe I gotta, maybe I should do it again.
Maybe you
Nothing
gotta,
wrong with that.
maybe I gotta throw my whole ass into it this time.
Right. At least 3/4 of it.
But it's even with listening to these audiobooks. Oh, I got to tell you about Al Pacino.
Mm.
Listening to these audiobooks in the car, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm focused on driving and I'm
Sure.
listening and again taking in information. But there's been times with either the audiobooks or even podcasts where I'll again the same thing as I said. If people don't like the fucking beeps on ours, roll 10 seconds ahead or whatever it is, you can
Right.
do the same thing backwards, obviously on a
Yeah.
podcast. So I've gone back and re-listened to a part because I know
Mm-hmm.
I just spaced. I wasn't
Right.
listening to it. But yeah, it is. It's strange how I don't know, at least how my brain works and I know a lot of people are too. I'm not unique
Mm-hmm.
in that fashion, but I mean the readings of my prayers are important to me, and I when I stray from that sometimes it doesn't really bother me, but yeah, every once in a while I'm like, okay, listen, motherfucker, read that again,
Yeah.
and I will.
Right.
I'll do the reading again because I know I didn't read the fucking thing. I did, but I
Right.
didn't.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Happens to all of us.
Even the best of us, right?
Even the worst of us.
So I was actually just speaking of being distracted. I listen to you while you talk, but I
Mm.
also kind of scan for other things for the next thing to try to keep it flowing. So it kind of because sometimes I want to feel a little bit professional with this stuff. So
All
rather than
right.
going, what should we talk about next?
Right.
So the one I
What
found
should
this
we talk
is
about next?
I have one. Um,
Ah.
this is from a bit ago, I think, from God Grant Me. Help me learn to enjoy reading as a
Huh?
way to tap into the wisdom of the ages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what I put in parentheses though, which and I guess what I was thinking about at the time, when is the last time that you read anything out of the big book? I knew that'd be a good one.
Uh-huh. Other than quotes out of the big book and the meditation readings, it's been, well, probably 9 months. Yeah, I was some idiot asked me to sponsor him, and so we were doing some work. Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's the only time I crack the big book anymore is yeah, if I'm trying to help somebody else, show somebody else something. Well, that's the honest answer. Yes,
Right.
I should, I mean, I get the flashes occasionally. You really ought to go down there and pick up that fucking book and read something out of it. Uh, and then I don't. Right. Again, that's, unless I'm 12 stepping with someone, I don't for myself anymore.
Right.
Yeah. How about
And
you, Bill?
um, I maybe in closer maybe it was sooner than maybe it wasn't as far back as 9 months ago, but it
All
wasn't
right.
to read a lot. It was to look up something that either we were talking about or something I thought about, that we were
Mm,
going to talk about.
okay.
And I knew it was in the big book, so because I've got it, my sobriety app is a big book,
Right.
app.
Hmm.
So, and I could search, for words. So I think
Right.
that's probably the last thing I did, and I would have read, a section. There was
Right.
one of the readings not too long ago, last couple of months. It's like read whatever page of, and I went to, or like it says in whatever page somewhere, I ran across that probably in one of the readings. So I'm
Right.
like, oh, I'm going to do that, and I'm like, I fucking read this plenty of times. I'm like, I'm good. It's just so stupid.
Right.
But probably in shit now, maybe it was. I know I was in Germantown, so handful of years ago, maybe. I got in my mind. I'm like, okay, every night I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to read either from one of the stories or one of the chapters.
Hmm.
Just kind of read through some of the stuff, a few
Right.
pages, this and that. And I think I did that for about 3 nights.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So probably, and I'm like, I'm only going to do, 15, 20 minutes. So I think I probably read about 45 minutes of the big book, total.
Hmm.
Handful of pages here and there, probably 15 pages,
Right.
7 years ago.
There you go.
And again, it's just same deal. And I bring my big book is in my car. My
Right.
big book and the 12 and 12 are in the car, but I brought them more for this than I did for personal consumption, I guess, if that's the right way to
Right.
put it.
Hmm.
Because every once in a while we talked about something for the 12 and 12. We were doing obviously went through the steps. Um, at some point I want to go through all the different little bookmarks and notes and shit like that I had in the big book. I know I read off a couple of them from time to time, but it's fun to
Hmm.
look at those every once in a while.
Right.
But I mean, it's in my fucking car, the book, not my app, my real book,
Yeah. Right.
and that's where it sits.
Yeah. Right. I mean, well, mine's on my bookshelf downstairs and, right, with all my other recovery books. Yeah, and I've actually and I keep a mini one in the truck at all times, just in case of emergency, break glass. Yeah, I've got
Right.
one of the little ones that's just the first 164 pages, none of the stories. Um, and yeah, just in case, in case I need it, or more importantly, in case somebody around me needs it. Somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, man, I see you got that little circled triangle on the back of your truck there. I have a question." All right, well, I may have an answer, and in case I don't have it in my head, I have it on paper.
Right.
Yeah.
The in one of the reasons, and I paid for that big book app, and that was the story of, again, I was spending God knows how much on fucking games and
Right.
music and downloading all this shit, and I wanted to get a sobriety app, and I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to have the big book because I think I've said this before, but the reason I got this particular sobriety app and big book app, there's a ton of them out there,
Uh
but
huh.
this one lines up with the actual pages of the fourth edition.
Right.
So and my thought was, okay, if I'm in a meeting, and because I've been to meetings before, it's a big book meeting, they run out of books,
Right.
and I'm like, if they're like, okay, we're going to start on page 132 and start our reading tonight, I can go in my app and go to 132 and I'll literally be on the correct page.
Mm-hmm.
But it was $6,
Ooh.
and I'm like, I'm not fucking. I remember telling you we were at the
Right.
3/4 house, and I'm like,
Yep.
I'm gonna spend fucking. Why would I want to spend fucking $6 on a goddamn app? And then I think I came back to you like 2 minutes later. I'm like, you know what? I just had a realization. Getting the games, the fucking, Angry Birds and everything else I was freaking buying. And I bought it's a one-time payment. I've had it for 12 years,
Right.
probably 13 years.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love it. Just I like the Sprite counter. It's simple, but I do. If I ever need to look something up, I mean, it's really easy to get to it. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's got the stories in the app. I think it's just the first 164. I think.
Right.
I don't
Huh.
recall, but yeah. So I was just curious. I wrote that down, and I don't know how long ago it was, and I knew I hadn't read anything out of the book. I hadn't thought you did, but 9 months. That's really not that long ago.
Right. It's not like it was yesterday.
And it's not
Certainly
seven.
not today.
It's not 7 years ago either. So
No.
All right. So oh fuck, where did that one just go? What just happened?
So much for professionalism.
Yeah, it's just weird. I'll come back to it. I think oh yeah. No. I actually have it here. Do you ever feel stale or stagnant with your meeting routine? And again, I know you go to the one meeting, or even take aside the fact that you do the one meeting now. Over the years, did you ever feel stagnant in your meeting routine? Maybe when you were going to more meetings on a regular basis. At any point, did you ever feel that way?
I mean, I yeah, I probably do now. Um, but I I don't know if the right word stagnant. I mean, it's certainly routine. I certainly know I could do more. I certainly whatever. But I'm fine with it. Again, I don't need a meeting,
Right.
thankfully. That's a good thing in my eyes. Again, kind of goes back to your biker buddy. I don't know if this program would work for you, but it's working for me. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't need a meeting. I've said it on here plenty of times. I go to be of service. I go to have the hand of AA be there. Um, Again, I don't need a meeting, and I'm glad I don't need a meeting. If I needed a meeting, I'm doing something fucking wrong. Um, I've actually gotten in discussions with some people, friends, who, I mean, I say, look, I didn't get sober to sit in a church basement, and I didn't.
Right.
Some people do. Some people that they like it. That's their program. That's what's working for them. They enjoy going and sitting in a church basement. I fucking don't.
Right.
I go because, and I do enjoy being of service, but I don't enjoy sitting there. My home group this week, man, the lead sucked. Um, it wasn't, I'm just sitting there going, fuck, shut up, dude. You're doing it wrong. In my head, of
Right.
course, but yeah, but whatever. But I was still there, shaking hands and smiling and going, yep, this thing works because it does.
Right.
Yeah, so, am I stagnant? Probably. Do I care? No.
In the I don't even know why I wrote that down because it had nothing to do with. And I'm looking at the once again the order that some of these things were written. This was
Uh-huh.
several months ago, and I don't even know why it came up. No idea whatsoever. But what I wrote in parentheses was when I moved to Madison, and it didn't. I'm like, why the fuck did I write that down? And now I know. So when we were in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember how, with the exception of the Keating Center meetings, we had the Monday and Thursday Keating Center meetings. Those are the ones we had to go to, right? And then
Right.
West Park Ben's West Park, right? Yeah, until thankfully I was working nights, so I didn't have to go anymore.
Right.
Um, but then some of the other meetings we were taken to those meetings and we kind of
Mm-hmm.
settled into them, and like you were
Right.
asked to go by Don, and I don't know, somehow I ended up, and so did you, and who do you know, and all these other ones. Stella
Right.
Maris for me that was a choice because of my
Sure.
dad,
Mm-hmm.
because my dad got sober there,
Right.
but I did the same meetings. I remember going to a discussion meeting a couple of times early on, being taken to one, like a big book meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You and I went to, obviously you did the 12 and 12. I went with you every once in a while.
Sure.
We went to the the sobriety store meeting. Remember that
Oh
one?
yeah.
Yeah, which is a small meeting, but that was nice.
Right. Yeah, it was a 12 and 12. Right. Yeah,
Was
that
it?
was
Okay, I couldn't remember. I
yeah.
couldn't
No,
remember.
that was my first month before Don dragged me to Puritas, where I've been for the last 14 plus years.
Oh shit. Okay, I
Yeah,
couldn't.
but
I didn't remember.
it was a 12 and 12. It was on Sunday night. Yeah, that was my Sunday night meeting when we were my first month, and then I couldn't go anymore because I got sucked into service, bastards.
Right, and then I was I started going to firefighters because my
Right,
sponsor went there.
right.
My sponsor Bill and Sopco and I used to go, and yeah. But it was all the meetings I went to ultimately were all lead meetings or what people
Mm-hmm.
call speaker meetings or
Right,
share meetings.
right. Yep.
Somebody standing up front of a fucking podium telling their goddamn story.
That's it.
Um, and when I moved to Madison, it was literally the opposite. They
Mm-hmm.
only had it was once a week on a Friday night. They had a meeting at this one club that I went to, and that's the only meeting throughout the week that had it these two clubs that were close-ish to where I could get to
Right.
that had a speaker. Everything else was discussion meetings, and it was
Mm-hmm.
completely out of my element to begin with. But I remember talking to Joe about it, probably you too, I'm sure. I'm like, it's just this complete, like, a revelation's wrong word, but just
Mm-hmm.
kind of an eye opener. It opened up a whole new part of whatever program that I was in at the time.
Sure.
3.5 years sober, and rather than sitting there listening to people,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm talking, just
Right.
about every meeting and
Right.
having a conversation and it was like, it was really weird, but I'm like, this is kind of fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then, I got into, I don't know, over the years, kind of a mix of it. So I guess I didn't realize that I was, like you said, it was just kind of not going through the motions in a bad way, but there's nothing wrong with sitting there listening to a story. But again, back to this thing that we're doing. I love
Mm-hmm.
having this back and forth
Right.
with just you and I, but it's nice having a guest on every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, speaking of, before I forget,
Ah.
yeah, William Moyers, a long time coming here. We first were supposed to have him on back in September and
Yeah.
then tentatively in October. He's coming up next week. So on Saturday next week, the episode next week will be William Moyers. He's all confirmed. If
Mm-hmm.
anything changes now, well, it is what it fucking is. But
Right.
we have done everything we can to confirm and make sure before we started really pushing this again. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be it'll be a good conversation. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be a lot of fun, and anyone who listens to us on a regular basis, I think will enjoy him. But I'm hoping we'll get a little bit more of an audience with him on there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so even with us, I mean, it's nice having you and I basically have a discussion meeting every week, with
Mm-hmm.
the exception of the time that every once in a while we invite somebody in to lead the meeting.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that turns into a discussion too, because
Yeah,
that's
it
what we
does.
do here. So yes,
Right,
this is right. Yeah. I mean, again, you talked about going to my 12 and 12. I mean, I did that for close to 5 years. I mean,
right.
that was, actually at LD's funeral. I mean, I ran into Mag,
Oh,
who,
really?
yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
Oh,
of course.
yeah, yeah.
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 Right. And he, I run into him once in a while. Hell, I ran into him at Giant Eagle one night, the
Oh,
local
really?
grocery store here. Yeah. Every time I see him, when you coming to visit us? Fuck, it's Saturdays. It's my day off. Yeah. One of these days I will. And one of these days I will, because I did love that meeting. It was a big part of my early sobriety. I mean, that was studied the 12 and 12 over and over for 5 years. So yeah, it was huge. Yeah, I loved it. And it was just a great meeting. There was some really good, solid old sobriety there. It was also right across the street from basically a homeless shelter. So we got those in there too. It was a wonderful mix of all of us in there. I love that meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I went with you quite a few times. Not
Mm-hmm.
certainly not as much as you went, but
Right.
yeah, and I don't remember because I know on Saturdays, I think on Saturday that was Saturday. What time? 4?
Afternoon. Yeah. Like 4:30, something like that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I mean, I would go to Stella Maris, that was a 6:30 meeting, I think,
Right.
at that time. So a lot of times I would, I don't know, I would be doing whatever. I think I'd do my grocery shopping. Yeah, because I would go down to Mom's usually on
Mm-hmm.
Sundays.
Right.
But I don't know if it worked out, to go there, and I did. I liked it. I always got something out of it. And again, the fact that the absolutes were mixed in there was really
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, it was it was a melting pot in the best
Mm-hmm.
possible way of people, and
Yep.
it was great. It was a good meeting. It was a
Yep.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
But all right, so one thing that well, I don't know, that seasonal affective disorder, because of course,
Sod.
yeah, sod. Um, I don't even know what to fucking think about this. I never I just I never think about it until this time of year because it comes up every fucking year. And I copied a piece out of the fucking Google machine, and it
Mm-hmm.
says seasonal affective disorder. It is
Yeah.
thought that shorter days and less daylight may
Uh-huh.
set off a chemical change in the brain,
Uh-huh.
leading to symptoms of depression.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about that, Mike? Over to you. I
I
just
mean, okay. Yeah, if you allow it, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I work in the daytime and I'm out and whatever. Yeah, I mean, it sucks this time of year. I fucking leave in the dark and I get home in the dark. It blows ass. Um, but okay. Yeah, it's all about what I do with it. I enjoy the hour and a half of daylight that I do get. Whatever, man. Yeah, excuses, triggers,
I know.
fuck, whatever, man. If you allow these things to happen to you, well, then you get what you get.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just I okay, and I don't know. The people who have to deal with true depression,
Uh huh.
I don't even pretend like I understand it because I don't. But
Right.
I also don't understand just because, somebody turned out the light, um, and it's an hour, it's supposed to be what? Real time it's supposed to be 9:15 right now, and it's 8:15. Okay.
Right.
Oh, I had, by the way, side note on that, I had the most beautiful thing, and I've traveled on the time change
Uh
weekend
huh.
in the fall before.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking wonderful, man. It was, because I mean, I left real time, the time zone on Saturday, so I got my hour back coming back here, and
Right.
then the next day I got another hour back. I'm like, I got fucking 2 hours of my life back, in this weekend. It was fucking wonderful.
Right.
So, and that's happened before because I know I've been in Cleveland, during daylight savings time, again,
Right.
came or end of, and then came
Right.
back to Wisconsin. So, but I don't get it. Like, again, when it's 4 o'clock and, yeah, it starts to get dark and it's 5 o'clock and it's fucking dark out. No, I don't like it, but
Mm-mm.
that goes back to the point of whenever this shit ends, and hopefully if they stop changing fucking clocks, they change it and leave it on daylight savings time. So in
Right.
the summertime, that's the point. We get these longer days. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's light out till fucking 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and then then we deal with the spin of the earth and the
Yeah.
shorter days, and it just that
Mm-hmm.
that is what it is. I mean, where the fuck are you going to live that you're not going to deal? It's it is. It just
Yeah.
is.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the best you could do is move to the equator, and that's it.
Whew, it's hot. Why is
Yeah. No
this? Why is
shit.
this? Why is it so goddamn hot? It's, yeah, I got more daylight, but whew, it's fucking
Yeah.
warm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine dropping some of these fucking dumb motherfuckers in Alaska when it's dark all day? Oh, because isn't it how many? Because what is there a spread of time? And you would know that you're the brainiac of the podcast
Mm,
in Alaska, right? For a certain
right.
period of the year, for a certain number of days, it's fucking dark all the time,
Well,
right?
yeah, the closer you get to the poles, right? You
Right.
get, yeah, exactly. Very short. Yes. Yeah, you get a couple of hours. I mean, way, way up there. Yeah. I think, in the southern part of Alaska, they probably get I don't know, 5 hours of daylight or something, six maybe. Yeah, it sucks ass. Right. Hi
Is
Cameron, how you doing?
no, isn't okay. So I'm thinking of the other way around. When it's light for 24 hours of the day, is that still Alaska? Is where
Yeah, it's summertime. Again, the poles. Right. Yep.
I don't know. I just think that that would suck having it dark. But could you imagine? I mean, just having 24 hours a day. It's just when's the fucking sun gonna go down?
Yeah, right. Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
it's like, again, towards the poles. Like Finland is way fucking up there.
right.
Yeah, yeah. In the summertime, you get like a couple of hours of dark, and the rest of the time it's light. Uh huh.
I'm part Finnish. Maybe I'd be fine there.
Yeah, maybe you would.
Maybe that's why none of this bothers me because I'm a fucking Finn.
Ah,
Or maybe it should be worse. I don't know what the fuck. I don't get it because the thing of it is the time change. People complaining about the time change. Fuck you if you complain about the time change because it
uh-huh.
doesn't. Have you never traveled? Like for instance, I'm just talking about going from let's say Indiana to Ohio or
Right.
Ohio to Indiana or I don't know drive a little bit farther to get into mountain time. Shit, you can drive right now. I could get in my car if I
Hmm.
go anywhere between the south to southeast this whole area 180 degrees or whatever or 90
Right.
degree area through that entire area I can drive for 45 minutes and I'll lose an hour you
Yeah.
know I that doesn't depress me. I want to drive an hour and a half round trip just to experience it but I don't just the time change itself doesn't I don't understand it. I just don't.
Right. I mean, no matter what, you get a certain amount of daylight and a certain amount of dark, according to how the Earth is spinning around the sun.
Right. That's what I said. Unless you do, don't want to live on the earth, then you're gonna have to fucking deal with it. So,
Right.
all right. So I got one more here. This was another. Just this is well, I guess this has something to do with being drunk because it's gonna talk about IHOP. Um,
Okay.
so
I've been drunk in an IHOP before.
well, and let me get out the first part of it, and then that is my question. So, um, Applebee's and IHOP apparently they're owned by a company by the name of Dine Dine, which I
Okay.
had no fucking idea. Again, news
Sure.
story. Apparently, they're different parts of the world right now, like 3, 4 different parts of the world. Applebee's and IHOP, they're putting them in like you've seen a Taco Bell and a Pizza Hut or this, that, and whatever, like next to each other
Oh, they're
type of thing.
combining them. Right.
Correct. So like literally in the building, Applebee's is on one side. Apparently it's you could like technically see the other restaurant, I think, through like 3/4 walls or whatever.
Hmm.
But they got a fully like all bright and cheery diner IHOP over here, and
Okay.
then Applebee's over there. So
Uh
they're
huh.
trying to, I don't know, doing it as both restaurants, I guess, is struggling, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So that first of all, I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, but hey, whatever works from a business standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought about it. Two things I thought about. First of all, I wonder how many youngsters out there even know what IHOP stands for anymore,
Right.
because it's been IHOP, I think, since fuck for 30 years.
Yeah.
That people have
Probably.
called it that. But
Right.
so anyone who doesn't know, Mike, tell them what it says or what
It's
it
the
means.
International House of Pancakes.
Exactly. What does Applebee's stand for? Who fucking knows?
I don't
It's
know.
Applebee's.
All right.
But so that was number one. It just kind of made me laugh. I'm like, yeah, IHOP. That's what everyone calls it. But so next question: when's the last time you were in an IHOP, and how many
Mm.
times have you been in one drunk?
Last time I was in an IHOP, oh shit. You know what? Our resident artist, uh, yeah, we went to an IHOP and we actually didn't end up eating there because, because the service was taking way too long. We ended up going to Dimitri's by my house.
Oh, really?
But yeah, yeah. So that was the last time I was in an IHOP and I didn't eat. Because there was like two people working in the entire place. It was post pandemic, but still kind of pandemic y. So I don't
Right.
know, a couple years ago. Yeah. And there was literally like two people working there, and it was going to be like an hour to get breakfast. And we were just like, oh, fuck this shit. Um, so yeah, this was the last time I was in an IHOP. Drunk, sure. Okay, so as you're talking about this, it reminded me, right? Because okay, so there's an Applebee's and an IHOP combined, which means that there's now a bar and an IHOP, right?
Oh, I never even thought about that. That's good thinking there, drunk boy.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so in Sacramento, where I went to high school and lived for quite some time, there was a Denny's out by Sunrise Mall.
Yep.
Anybody? Yeah, right. Okay, so there was a Denny's that had a full bar in it.
Oh yeah. Yep. There
Yeah.
was one. There was one in Waukesha where I lived in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
right. It
Yeah.
was like there was the Denny's, and then there was a full bar with a bar off to the side, but it was part of the restaurant, and you could go sit in the bar and drink like you were in a bar and get some pancakes sent to you.
It was such a wonderfully horrible idea.
Oh yeah, it was fucking brilliant. I loved it in there.
so so we were me and Pam, so this is my daughter's mom.
Uh-huh.
And then we had next door neighbors in when we lived in Wales, that we where we grew up, and one of the guys who was my buddy Scott, and then his brother Brian. And Brian used to hang out with us every once in a while. He was 3-4 years younger than Pam and I were or
Mhm.
are, and I don't know. He obviously loved hanging around Kimmy and stuff like that with us, and we were all good friends. So I don't remember where we went first,
Mhm.
but he was out with us, and then we ended up at. I think we went to a bar. I mean, and then went to Denny's obviously to eat, but then
Mhm.
when we went in fucking drinking or ordered drinks or whatever, so we're sitting at Denny's, we got kicked out.
Right, of course.
Yeah, which at that point, again, all fucking loaded up from the bar, ended up, yeah, just sitting in a fucking Denny's. But yeah, I talked about that with people before. I didn't realize that you had been. I thought maybe we did talk about it on here,
Mm.
but maybe not now. But I've talked to people about that there was one in Waukesha, again,
Yep.
not that far from where we used to live, and yeah, it blows people's minds. And like, there's a bar in fucking Denny's. I'm like, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. And that used to be, I mean, that was a thing because we go to
I mean, it
Denny's
was
all the fucking
the
time.
one in Sacramento was like a groovy 70s one with like the lava rock on the wall and shit. Oh yeah, it was fucking great.
The funny part is I remember when you'd walk in the door, there was like the counter section a little bit to the right, and
Mhm.
so where people could sit at the counter, and then a little
Right?
string of seats to the right, your full restaurant to the left, towards
Mhm.
the front of the restaurant. Then if you'd walk straight forward, just a kick over to the right, and that was the bar.
Mhm.
I remember it like it was yesterday, but I have zero recollection of what it looked like inside the bar. So that tells me one of two things. Either it's been a long time,
Mhm.
or I was loaded by the time we got to Denny's and just
Yep.
have no fucking idea. But I remember, sitting at a Denny's in a fucking booth, probably with a plate of eggs and a 7-7.
Yep.
It's fucking classy. Just
Oh yeah.
classy. But yeah, so it just the when I heard that story, I'm like, it just seemed kind of a weird combination, but then it made me think of just again, I mean, that's what IHOPs are for, is drunk people. But then it made me think of
Mhm.
Denny's, so I'm glad you brought that up. But the last time that I think I was in an IHOP, there was one because there's a lot of them around like college campuses and shit like that. I mean, why not? It's
Mhm.
got to be a fucking moneymaker.
Sure.
Um, but I think that's the last time that I was one. There was one down by UWM, and same deal. I mean, we'd go in there, after fucking bar time, just
Yeah.
go grab some food. I mean,
Right.
it was cheap and easy enough to get in and out of there at the time. We didn't have to wait an hour.
Mhm.
But yeah, and well, you and I went to George Webb. George Webb was drunk food, and
Right.
where because did you have the chili there?
I believe I did.
I think you did because I think I recommended that, and it was just funny when I told Dawn that. I don't know if it was that day when you were with me, but I remember telling her afterwards. I'm like, "Oh yeah," I said. By the way, I said I went to a George Webb sober. She's like, You did what?" And I told her the story, and she's like, she's had to think about it for a second. She's like, "Oh shit," she's like, "I don't think I've ever been to one sober." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I told Mike." I'm like, I've never been in a George Webb before when I haven't been fucking loaded.
Right.
It's crazy. But all right, so whatever, man. You know what? I'm just going to say it because we showed up tonight. We did some goddamn good work tonight.
Sure.
Well, we showed up, right?
That's right. We did a thing.
We're not going to sunset our podcast tonight.
Not today. Nope,
Yeah.
not tonight.
And just once again to repeat ourselves, if we're fucking done with all you out there, we're going to tell
Mhm.
you about it. We're going to tell you
Absolutely.
why. We're going to get up there. We're going to give you a piece of our mind before we walk out the door too.
That's right.
I could see the last episode, people listening going, "God damn." Yeah, but anyhow, you know what? I think we'll tell them to fuck off like we do now. So why don't you
All right.
go ahead, Mike?
Let's do it. All right, kiddies. Thanks for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, do something nice for somebody else this week, and don't tell anybody you did it. Christ, fucking be nice to each other, huh? All right. Well, from the bottom of my heart to the depths of my soul, from the beginning of time till the ends of the earth, always and eternally, fuck you. And now it's time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off till you get to a gate with a sign on it saying, you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.
Said that last part with determination. A little bit
I
of
meant
grit
it.
in there too.
That's right.
Yeah, and you know what? I was just thinking about. If I got fucking nothing to do tomorrow, so I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I'll get to listen to the podcast in the car tomorrow. But no, just when I'm kind of kicking around. But that's what I do now. I sit there and listen to shit in the car. Oh, real quick, Al Pacino. I started listening to his book because it was my credit didn't re-up, so I paid for the Pacino book. I just got the Alex Van Halen book with my credit. But
Cool.
Al Pacino. Listen to the first couple hours. I'm enjoying the shit out of it so far. The only thing is, I want him to clear his fucking throat. That's it. that's it.
Well,
Because
I mean, what, the guy's in his 80s, right? I mean,
I know it's really hard to listen to it. You're kind of what I'm going. But he's.
Hooah.
But it's funny. You can tell when he's taking a break and come back because the sound changes just a little bit and his voice is clearer. But I mean, he's narrating it. Yeah, he's fucking wonderful. I listen to him on 2 different podcasts. But yeah, this is just, I'm like, God damn it, dude, clear your throat. Come on, clear it up. But no, it's interesting. Highly recommended so far. I'm 2 hours into 12. I'll report back more on it later. So, but for
Cool.
now, guess what?
What?
I love you, brother.
I love you too.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Bye. And now it is time for you to fuck off. Then keep fucking off. Keep fucking off until you get to a gate with a sign on it saying you cannot fuck off past here. Climb over that gate, dream the impossible dream, and keep fucking off forever.